with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out smackdowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space, now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
Tuesday. You know what that means. Well, we're here on the War Report podcast, Pro Wrestling Podcast, brought to you by TagMeADate.com. I wish there was an easier way to start off the show, but there's not.
Just when you think 2020 can't get any worse or hit you with another one. I mean, it's just
last kick in the balls.
Like a really bad one, too. Like, you don't really, it's like he was never in WWE. He was never he never got as big as he should have.
Right.
And then he goes over to AEW and they start using him the way he should be. And you saw the path towards the world title.
Absolute 100%.
He became a serious, real deal over there. And, man, was he so good in the ring. And then it takes a tragedy like this to happen. And then you see the outpour from the community, the wrestling community. And not one person says anything different than the other one. That he was all about his family, that he was such a pro in and out of the ring. It just sounded like he was an overall great guy. And, he was fantastic in the ring. His character was always great. In my opinion, both with the Wyatts and on his own in WWE and also in AEW as the Exalted One. So what a fucking hit to the face, man. It fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's awful. For those of you, obviously this has been all over, so I don't know how much of it I need to repeat for you, but John Harper, formerly known as Brodie Lee, formerly known as Luke Harper, of upstate New York independent wrestling, of WWE, of AEW, passed away from a non-COVID related lung issue just a few days ago at 41 years of age, leaving behind his wife Amanda and his two sons, Brodie Jr. and Nolan. And, not to retread what everybody just said, but this is a big loss for pro wrestling. Pro wrestling aside, a wife lost her husband, two children lost their father at 41, which is way too young to lose somebody like that. And he was at the Mayo Clinic, so you don't just go to the Mayo Clinic for the sniffles. There was obviously there was an issue, an underlying issue there that despite all of the work that the Mayo Clinic does with infectious diseases and viruses and unknown things, they weren't, they did the best they could and weren't able to solve the problem, which again, no fault of their own. They, Mayo Clinic did literally, according to Amanda Hubbard, did everything they could to save Brodie John to keep him with us, but it just sucks because he had his final match, what is now the last match ever that he's wrestled, was against Cody in that dog collar match where Cody won the title back, and he had a little bit of a nagging injury. They wrote him off TV with an injury sometime in October, end of October. Found out his family found out. He found out that he had this issue. We still don't know exactly where it is, but they found out late October. And as far as I know, he never got out of the hospital. This is just, it's rough.
Yeah, that was the latest today. He had never been released.
But at least I guess the good thing is there's a Mayo Clinic, I guess, in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So, which I was kind of confused because I knew that he was an upstate New York guy. And it was when they said his son was on the show and he was -1 on AEW Dark last week, which was really nice.
Right.
They did a segment where he choked out Kenny Omega and won the title as well, but that hasn't aired yet.
I hope they air that.
They should because it's something.
They might do it tonight
Brodie.
or Wednesday
Right,
because they're
Well, tomorrow night's apparently the entire show was a tribute show now.
well,
Yeah,
right.
so
That's why I'm saying. So that would be
Yeah.
the right time to show that clip.
they rewrote Wednesday's show at credit to them. WWE, listen, everybody in WWE did their tributes last night on Monday Night Raw. They did a graphic at the beginning of the show. Hopefully they'll do something a little more in depth with the other Wyatts and some of the other members of the roster to remember the guy. But again, the big show, and again, I hate to make the comparison because the situations are so different, but this isn't, to me, it feels just like Owen and
Yep.
just like Eddie, where at least Eddie had won the world title, but Owen was one of those guys who never got the big one, and he was always overshadowed by Brett. Luke Harper, when John Hubbard was Luke Harper in WWE, there was a period right before WrestleMania in Orlando a few years ago where it looked like the main event was going to be changed from Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt to Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, and Luke Harper in a triple threat for the WWE Championship. I was very excited for that potential and that possibility, but they did not go that direction. He never.
Since you
guys, it's hard to get a fair shake.
Since you brought this up, I want to touch on it too because you talk about WWE's tribute, and of course, there's a lot of backlash right now on social media
That he didn't
on right that WWE's tribute of just putting up a graphic was kind of a slap in the face. There were some people that were surprised WWE did anything at all. Being that they're on the rival show now, AEW, but at the end of the day, you put that aside. This man worked for your company for a very long time, made you a lot of money with the Wyatt family. You pay your respects. But overall, what did you guys think? Forget about the wrestlers doing whatever they did on their own. Do you think WWE handled it correctly with just putting up a graphic?
It's hard to say because I've heard that they've done video interviews, like on-camera interviews with some talent.
See, I didn't hear that. So maybe they'll do that on SmackDown.
So the speculation is that either they recorded all this stuff and decided not to put it together and do it and air it, or maybe they'll do it on SmackDown. And I guess maybe he was better known as a SmackDown roster member than a Raw roster member. I really, maybe it's more appropriate there. With the Fiend being off TV. Not that, but again, Bray Wyatt's not on TV to really acknowledge that relationship there. Maybe, Braun's off TV. Eric Rowan doesn't work there anymore. So I don't know. I hope they do a video package for him just so people, it's not out of sight, out of mind. This was a guy that was there for a decade and put on, he was a big part of the Wyatt family versus the Shield. The Bludgeon Brothers, he had his singles runs. He won the Intercontinental title. It wasn't like he was, some guy that just sat in catering and ate food.
And you never watched him wrestle a match and say this match sucked.
No, he wrestled.
He always had great matches. He was just great all around.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that tomorrow night's Dynamite is a nice tribute to him.
I'm sure.
Tony, Brodie Jr., who they're calling -1, that's his Dark Order number, -1, booked the show and picked the matches that he wanted to see and the guys that he wants. So there's some odd tag teams where like Cody and Orange Cassidy are teaming with Preston Vance, who's number 10 from the Dark Order, which you wouldn't normally see. And the Young Bucks are with Colt Cabana, and because he's in the Dark Order, you wouldn't normally see them tag together.
You know what, though? That's fucking awesome.
That's fantastic that they're doing that.
Stu and Uno are wrestling with, they have Lance Archer on their team going against the Death Triangle, or going against Eddie Kingston's family, rather. Cody Orange and Preston are going against Team Taz. All the matches were picked by Brodie Lee Jr. And apparently, I mean, the kid's not that old, but he's old enough to like be active, and like there's pictures of him putting guys in, like he goes, oh, here's a picture of me putting him John Silver in an arm bar, and like, oh, so he knows
He's
like,
8 years old. He knows what he's doing.
but he wants to, obviously, like he wants to wrestle, and hopefully, you know.
Well, if he didn't, he's gonna want to now.
Yeah. So
Right.
hopefully,
Well, even they sent him. They sent JR and him to the Jaguars game too.
Yeah, they sent him to the Jags game. I mean, they're
they're doing right by that family. So.
Yeah, and I this it throws a lot of question marks on a TV show, but who gives a shit about a TV show?
No.
Oh, what's going to happen with the Dark Order? What's, oh, he was the Exalted One. What's going to happen with Adam Pate?
Who cares?
They'll figure it out. It's a fucking TV show. We can figure it out. I think this is an opportunity, though, to take that group who was always just a bit, they're baby faces now. That's just what it is. The Dark Order are a bunch of baby faces fighting for the memory of their leader who's dead now. So maybe they can turn that into the story, and Adam Page joins with them and makes the Dark Order even bigger. But
well, I don't know. It looks like Dustin might be joining them also.
Dustin, well, they teased a lot of stuff before, so I don't know. It's just a weird shit like this. Just always hits hard because it's not just a character on a TV show. It's not like they killed off Brian Griffin on Family Guy, or they, whatever it was, and it's a character that died. This was
41 years old.
Person that died, and it's just
41 years old. I mean, that's,
this is the first time in a while that we've actually had an active roster wrestler pass. It's been a while since this has happened.
But I mean, I'm 33, gonna be 34 in a couple months. You guys,
I'll be 41 in March.
Yeah, I'll be 41 in April.
Yeah.
So
Eric is 41.
But it's hard. So it's hard to think of somebody that's your age.
Yep.
Right.
Just.
I want to ask another question. Mm-hmm. So after we got word of what's going on with with Brodie, so Ryback apparently was once again at it and talking on social media that Vince is a lot sicker than what we actually think or know.
Of all people, though, he shouldn't be the one freaking talking. I'm sorry.
He shouldn't be the guy to be saying that. I don't think it's... When it comes to medical issues, that's a very personal thing to talk about or not talk about. And, like, it would be... If Vince came out and had released a statement, I am ill, or Stephanie and Shane released a statement on behalf of the family, or Linda, hey, here's an update on what's going on. If there... And this is even if there's something up with Vince McMahon.
Somebody that's in his good graces, even if they're a member of the company, that's fine. This is freaking Ryback we're talking about.
So, yeah, I don't know where he would get that info. I mean, obviously, if he's still talking to people, but I don't know where. I don't know. That's a weird one because.
I mean, he didn't look great on TV. What was it, like a month or so ago? He didn't look great, but he didn't.
I think the same thing. I thought the same thing is like, obviously, he's not the same Vince.
He's getting old, but he didn't look terrible.
So, yeah. So I don't know if this is just Ryback.
Not for nothing. It'd take a lot of Botox to make him look like how he did 20 years ago. So,
working out all the things that he did to look the way he did, you can't do in your 70s.
Yeah.
I will say this.
It's going to take a toll on you.
Yeah. I think I will say there is one way that you may in your head be able to start to maybe legitimize the fact that he is sick, because he once again has backed another superstar in a horrible situation, because they've now set up Keith Lee versus Drew during Legends Week for the title on Raw. Now,
oh man,
the problem I foresee.
We're not talking about his mental capacity. We were talking if he was sick.
Well, tomato. To me, it all kind of ties into the same, because at the end of the day, I don't see McIntyre dropping the title. Which means either Keith Lee loses again, or Sheamus gets involved and it sets up a 3-way at the Royal Rumble for said title. And I just hope that means that not only will Sheamus and Keith Lee be in that match, but they will be allowed to be participants in the Royal Rumble. Because I still think Keith Lee could be within your final 4 or 5 if he's in the Rumble match.
Absolutely.
But how are you guys feeling about
But I
this?
agree. I don't think this match should be happening.
I think that this all is. I'm sticking to what I said a couple weeks ago. The Miz is cashing in, and eventually is going to lose it to Edge. So we do Edge versus Randy Orton for the title at WrestleMania. That's still my prediction.
How stupid was that dance with him and Morrison last night?
They already. So this fucking Money in the Bank is dead. Otis wins it by accident. Miz wins it from Otis by accident, pretty much, and then he cashed it in. Whether or not the guy whoever handed it to the referee is I don't know. That's the way they're going with it. But it's not like he said, no, don't do it. Like if Morrison handed it in and Miz was like, no, I don't want to do it. That's
no, exactly.
He was telling the referee's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, let's do this.
Yes, do it. Yep, exactly.
Like every other cash-in existence. So, yeah, I know. It's a TV show. They can do whatever they want. It just doesn't make sense. So he's got the belt. He's got the briefcase back. It's all a little too convenient. I think that this Keith Lee is not going to, hopefully doesn't get pinned by McIntyre next week. But I think it's going to end up being Miz. Like, unless they keep doing this thing where the Miz, somebody said, oh, what if the Miz hands in the briefcase and he's unsuccessful, but then he reveals that the contract wasn't inside of the briefcase. So he still got the contract. And it's like setting up all these times that the Miz failed.
Oh, God, give me a break.
Orton already won his feud with the Fiend. He lit the guy on fucking fire and he's dead.
Orton already won it. The Fiend's on fire somewhere.
Now, hold on a second.
He burned his girlfriend. He killed 2 people over the course of a week.
Listen to me. Listen to me. No. We clearly know and understand that this is not over because they've been continuing it while Fiend's not there with Bliss and the playground, which is phenomenal. I love the playground. I want to go. But
oh my God.
I will tell you, I enjoyed the first segment with them.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the whole I'm sick, fuck, I'm going to pour gasoline all over me. The whole...
It's getting wet, you saying?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then the whole Fiend lights going out and him lighting the match. And the cliffhanger, oh, did he drop the match? I thought was fucking horrible.
Thank you.
I did not enjoy that. That pissed me off.
When Ryan asked, I said, I feel like I'm watching General Hospital. That's exactly what I said. I'm like, what the hell was that?
I mean, listen, I get it. Wrestling is like a soap opera. I get it. But the fucking cliffhanger, like, seriously? Like,
then they just go to the post.
He's going to burn his finger any second.
But they didn't like there's Raw talk right after the show, right?
Right.
You would think they'd start, hey, Raw talk. Raw just went off the air and Randy Orton was going to burn a woman alive on television. We should talk, and they didn't talk about it. I don't know.
Nope.
The thing that's a little weird for me about this whole Firefly Funhouse thing, Seth Rollins and Randy Orton have now both somehow found the Funhouse or the set that is the Funhouse television show or whatever it is with the puppets. And Seth lit it on fire, and Randy Orton is like, biting the head off the bird like he's Ozzy Osbourne or whatever else. And like, isn't this, how did they find it? Is it just there? Is it like in the dugout in the Tropicana field? Like, I don't know. It's supposed to be this supernatural place that only the Fiend can get to. And then these guys are there. I just don't understand how Randy Orton, without the Fiend being there or leading him there, how did Randy Orton find the Funhouse? I think too much.
I mean, listen, that was a very fair question. But at the same time,
it really doesn't matter. It's just a weird thing to ask.
There's nothing about the Firefly Funhouse, the Fiend character, or anything that makes fucking sense. It just happens to be the coolest, greatest thing on the show, in my opinion.
I mean, Well, let's put it this way: since we're talking about the rest of the show, the make Ricochet look like an asshole segment went just as well as it's gone every week for the last year and a half.
He should just join Retribution already, but it's going to be the end of his career.
I mean, at this point, what is it like?
He's got nothing else to lose.
Did he? I feel like this is one of the things where, like, he sneezed on somebody's foot one day, and that was it. And they're like, you know what? Fuck this guy. It's a really petty reason, like, you know, you coughed in front of the boss and he doesn't like germs, and they're like, you know what? Because I don't get it. Aside from the fact that he can't cut a promo to save his life, he's got a good look. He's a good wrestler.
He does a lot of shit that nobody else can do.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that can't cut promos. That doesn't make them not money.
Right. You have Brock Lesnar, who hasn't cut a good promo in 20 years.
Oh God, yeah.
And then you put him with Paul Heyman, and it's an act. But yeah, so I just
See, that wouldn't be such a bad thing to put him with a mouthpiece.
No, that's what they did 30 years ago when a guy couldn't talk. You gave him a manager. That was the whole point of managers.
Yeah. I said, giving him like a mouthpiece or something like that. That would be a good idea.
Well, because I think if they, because they kind of play up this thing of him being like a superhero kind of thing, which is fair. That's a good character to have. Why can't he have a sidekick that like talks for him or is like,
Do Molly Holly, Super Holly,
like his Molly Holly. Whoever he needs a Molly Holly. Mm-hmm. There we go. That's what I'm saying.
Now, who could we use that? Who could be the Molly Holly though for him?
Drake Maverick in Molly Holly's
costume. Ooh,
just dressed like Wonder Woman. Yeah. No, I just don't know what they're doing with this. The Retribution thing, again, I can't even be annoyed by it anymore because it exists as a thing and isn't going anywhere. Retribution's going fucking nowhere. Ricochet's going nowhere. I just don't.
I don't even know what Retribution can do now at this point to save themselves.
There's when you start off throwing Molotov,
get set on fire.
Yeah. But they haven't done anything. Like, they started off with a bang, literally. And then every single week after that, it got less and less. They were throwing bricks. Then they were cutting the ropes with chainsaws. And then they were just, like, showing up and interfering. Now they're showing up and wrestling regular matches. So everything they've done has scaled down in terms of intensity. So I don't know. I don't care. Like, that's the problem with a lot of the pro wrestling stuff. It's not whether it's good or bad. It's do you care? I don't care.
Well, that's the problem. I think most people feel the same way, especially when it comes to Retribution.
Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon.
But they made it even worse because it was a shitty storyline to begin with. It wasn't that exciting. Nobody really cared. And then you make Mustafa Ali the ringleader?
I don't even have a problem with that. I don't even have a problem with that. It started off with these horrible fucking masks and these horrible names. Yeah. I mean, and the fact that you knew who they were, like you didn't even have Mia Yim change her hair color. You know what I'm saying? Like Dijak, all right, you had him get a haircut and put on the mask, but you can't change his voice and his size. Like you knew it was Dijak, and not for nothing, he still uses the same finishing move. So it's like, it should have been the presentation sucked. The idea could have worked. They fucked it up. They botched it completely. There's no saving.
But then they made it even worse. And like I said, then they just made it even worse that like the genius behind it was Mustafa Ali. Really?
Well, he was the hacker, so it almost
they could have.
Yeah, he kind of looks like a hacker. You know what I mean? He kind of looks like a hacker.
He was the SmackDown. They revealed in the same thing that he was the SmackDown hacker. So that's how they tried to make it make sense.
Still didn't.
No, because the SmackDown hacker was a good guy.
Right, because the SmackDown hacker was the one that revealed that Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose and the Otis shit for Valentine's Day and the truth will set you free.
He was the good guy hacker.
Yeah,
and then he's a bad guy.
I'm the good guy hacker behind a group that wants to destroy everything. Got it.
It's unreal.
Eric, who might
They should have done it. Like I said, they wanted to ham it up and do it. Like, put someone big behind it. Put Edge behind it. Put something that would have been like, holy shit, wait a minute. Edge just turned on the entire WWE universe. Are you kidding me? You know?
Yeah, but no, because somebody like Edge wouldn't have made sense. It had to be, like
it makes sense to be
the premise behind because the premise behind Retribution is supposed to be they're not giving me my shot. They're not giving me my just due or whatever.
But they were all NXT talent.
It should have been WCW guy.
Right. Yes. Now you're talking.
Guy who was like,
yeah,
or an outsider, somebody from completely the outside. We're coming in.
Right.
That I agree with.
Right.
WCW, but like,
Yeah, like a radical, like when the Radicals invaded, or like, the Outsiders when it was Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Yeah.
It's hard to do an invasion when everybody's employed by you.
Right.
This is true.
It's not.
That's very true.
When NXT invaded SmackDown or Raw or whatever. Okay, well, they all work for the same company. Well, these guys don't work for anybody and they're invading, but they really work for us because we gave them contracts. So they're invaders, but they're not invaders. But they're employees.
Exactly.
It's just there was no.
At least Nexus, had a story behind why they were doing what they were doing.
But you know what they should have done? WWE, to solve this whole thing, we'll go back 6 months. All they had to do was say, WWE has come to the terms for the release of the following talents.
Yes.
Yes.
Talk to me.
Mia Yim, this one, that one, and they're fired. And
could you have imagined what that podcast would have sounded like? Holy shit.
Right. And then we're all talking about how the fuck do you fire a guy like Dijak? How do you fire Brennan Williams, who's on Up, Up, Down, Down, and he's like 6.5 feet tall? How do you fire Mia Yim? We'd be pissed. We'd be so pissed. And then a month or two later, those people come back and you go, oh my God.
Yep.
No,
exactly.
And 30 seconds.
And you wouldn't have had to put the stupid masks on them. All they would have had to do was just fucking invade.
Because if Dijak without the silly costume came out, like remember when Scott Hall interrupted a match and that was how he came?
Yep.
Hey yo, you know why you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. He did one of those things, right?
Yep.
Dijak could have just came out and like interrupted Ricochet's match with whoever and kicked his head off, and Dijak could have been feast your eyes, Dijak, brah, whatever. And it's a gimmick, it's something. But now it's the fact
now it's story time with Vince. I love it.
The fact that they don't acknowledge Dijak, like this is so I can't come up with an equivalent. I guess it would be not like Wrath or Mortis. Was it Mortis? Was Chris Kanyon?
Yeah, Mortis was Chris Kanyon.
They never really mentioned it. This is the only thing I can think of. But like, I can't. It's Dijak. Like, there's a guy out there. We know who he is, and they're making him play this stupid character. I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate the story time with Vince graphic on the bottom.
That's fantastic.
But it's little tweaks to the story that could have worked because you've got good guys in this group and they're just spinning their wheels.
Yeah. No, it's true. And Eric made a good point.
Right on that one.
Eric made a good point in text, and Mercedes, she already made a huge impact going back to NXT and staying away from Retribution. So, she knew ahead of time too that was just going to be a fucking epic fail.
Yeah. Oh man. Could you imagine working like she's 40 something? Imagine working for that long. Hey, you finally made it to WWE. Congratulations. Go put on your mask and you're going to be unnamed female Retribution member number 2. Because I don't even think they came up with a name for her, right?
I don't think so. Well, she was already gone before they even had a chance to give her a name.
Mia Yim is Reckoning, which is just if the group is already Retribution, why is the girl's name Reckoning? Especially when the other guy's name is like T-Bar and the other guy's name is whatever it is.
And she's not even wrestling.
Yeah. And the time she does, she loses. She hasn't won a match. She wrestled 2 and she lost them both to Dana Brooke.
Tend to be bit by spiders.
Dana Brooke, exactly.
Yeah. Was that the match where she was
The only real action she saw was when they kicked the shit out of Zelina Vega, and that he wasn't even anything spectacular either. They're totally not utilizing her, and she's so freaking good.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a
at
shame.
least have her wrestle. Like, here's the problem: once you lose to Dana Brooke, you're just not going to be taken seriously. You're just not.
So true.
Is anyone else sick of seeing her and Mandy Rose together every single week doing this?
Oh, it drives me fucking crazy.
And it's funny how
Thank you. Okay, it's not just me. I'm all for giving the women the girl power and everything shit, because I know you're supposed to root for the girls if you're a girl or whatever, but I swear to God, I want to beat through the TV every time I see the two of them. Ugh.
I can't stand them.
For those of you who might have just recently started listening, this podcast this is our 6th year anniversary right around this time. One of the things that's been consistent through all 6 years of this podcast is how much Steve hates Dana Brooke. Hates her. So
fucking can't stand her.
Like I want to go back and
Dana
if I had
Brooke.
the kind of time, I would go back and listen to every episode we've done and count how many times you said that about Dana Brooke.
Oh,
I
man.
feel like you had to
She's
mention
annoying.
almost every episode.
I can't stand her.
There was a point where I defended her, and now I don't give a shit.
You know what it is too? It's not even
Steve, we seldomly agree.
It's not even her in-ring abilities. It's her. The
Eric
fucking
says we all hate her, according to his message.
Yep.
Don't get me started. She fucking. I could finish the whole rest of the show talking about how much I can't stand it.
Somebody's trying to audio call our group chat.
That's not happening on my end, just so you know.
Or is that me? Did I try and Eric joined the call? I don't know who did that. I'm ignoring that. Okay. Anyway,
No, that was Eric.
What the fuck is Eric doing? So, but yeah, overall,
I think he meant to type a message and then just kept going.
Overall, I think Raw was a pretty decent show. I just don't really understand a lot of what's going on.
A lot of unnecessary stuff when it's a 3-hour. You know what I mean? Like
but I do want to say congratulations.
Eric just writes, my elbow hit my phone.
Oh, well, there you go. That makes sense now.
He's doing it again. This fucking kid. All right, but congratulations to Big E.
Oh yes,
Intercontinental Champion on SmackDown.
Well deserved.
You had to know as soon as he had that fucking promo with Paul Heyman that was happening.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm hoping that, again, my theory for the SmackDown side, since my Raw side is already Randy Orton. Hello. My theory is that if they can't get The Rock, they're gonna fast track Big E against Reigns for WrestleMania.
Now, let's say that happens. The big question is, does Big E win the title?
I'd say no, only because it's very rare that a heel retains a title at WrestleMania, and they probably won't have as big of a crowd. So Roman, this is the one time they can have Roman go over at WrestleMania, and the crowd will react the way they want them to. So this is their big opportunity to finally do the WrestleMania finish that they've tried to do for the last 8 years.
That's true.
Then when the crowd, so I think, unfortunately, Big E would lose that one, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't win at SummerSlam or the next. Maybe they do a long-term thing where we set up the Samoans against the New Day. Eventually the New Day, and then instead of the New Day supporting Big E or Kofi rather, like they did for Kofi Mania, it's the New Day backing up Big E to challenge Roman. And those two New Day guys fight off the two Samoan brothers, the Usos. I don't know. Just speculating. More story time. But
I mean, a lot more I think will start to shape after Rumble. That starts the road. So we gotta see what happens during the Rumble this year, which is always one of my favorites. So,
but I like that Paul Heyman. When Paul Heyman's with Brock Lesnar, he doesn't do this kind of thing. It's almost like he's with Roman, but he doesn't really like doing it. Like he feels conflicted about doing. So he's giving these other performers advice, and kind of setting them on their paths. I don't know. It's a weird. Paul Heyman is playing a very interesting role right now because he's not quite a heel.
You've been saying that for a while, and I just don't.
Look on his face, like he's not sure.
Yeah, but then he has other looks in his face where he's. I don't know.
I'm hoping because the boring answer is that Paul Heyman's a heel and he's always a heel and he's going to feel like a bad guy all the time. The interesting answer.
He does seem to have that look like he's conflicted about some of the stuff sometimes that Roman's doing. I will give Vince that one. I have seen it.
Right. I'm hoping that's the catalyst of
the handcuff thing. The handcuff thing in the steel cage match. He had that look on his face like, what the hell are you doing?
I didn't like that. And again, I know the heel is supposed to get heat by doing things you don't like, but Roman Reigns is such a dominant guy. Should he really need handcuffs to beat Kevin Owens?
See, I kind of liked that spot.
I mean, it was just to draw more heat, obviously.
Right. It was, yeah. But to me, it's like, I don't know. They're not giving Reigns the same dominant run that Lesnar gets. They're giving him more outs with interference and such. It's just it's interesting to see the way they're booking Roman Reigns as a champion versus.
It's working though.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's not working. It's just I'm still thinking that eventually this is going to lead to Heyman siding with somebody else. Yeah, because I mean, let's be realistic. That's what Paul Heyman does. Paul Heyman turned on Brock Lesnar to pair with the Big Show.
Big Show, yep, right. Survivor Series, yep.
He's picked the wrong horse a couple times, but
Madison Square Garden, I was there.
Yeah, so I mean, there's precedent for it. So I think I'm hoping we get an interesting. It's interesting now, but what I'm saying is I hope it continues to be interesting, and it isn't just evil Paul Heyman working the machine behind the scenes like he's always done. Maybe it's a little different this time. But SmackDown had 3 million some odd viewers, the highest rating since its debut of 4 million viewers on Fox last year.
What was the difference besides Big E?
Football. There's usually
it was Christmas night.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
So it was Christmas night, and they had a football game on Fox, and they promoted the shit out of it during the football game.
Well, your other choice was watching A Christmas Story for the 10,000th time.
Yeah,
so
TNT or TBS or whatever had the Christmas Story. But did you see the AEW things in between? They were doing AEW Christmas Story in between, which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
TNT really likes this company, man. They like AEW, which is good. It's not like WCW when Time Warner got fucking sick of them at one point. So, but yeah.
Well, right now they're pulling in good numbers for them.
Yeah, but so point being that, and I think unfortunately for the wrong reasons, going to be a big episode tomorrow for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, SmackDown did a really good number with a good lead. People are like, the football game wasn't that good, but here's what you don't understand. Some people might, if they don't watch football, they might not get it. Even a bad football game, like as a football, I love watching football. I'll watch a bad football game. I don't care. I'll still watch it. And like, I know my parents, like I left my parents' house that night, probably in the third or fourth quarter of that football game, and I went home. They were watching football. I'm pretty sure they watched SmackDown afterward. It's one of those things where somebody's going to be going, hey, just leave it on and just watch it. So,
well, but your parents would watch it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they're not every week watchers of most of the stuff, mostly because they have other stuff to watch. They watch like Blue.
But no, he's got the point of that is if you're finishing up your Christmas dinner, you're cleaning up, and the channel was on, and then you just happen to walk by,
you're not
and you
turning
see
it off.
Match, like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on?
Right?
Because here's the thing: when I watch Monday Night Football or whatever night it is. Let's just say it's Monday night or even Sunday Night Football. They have the 8:30 game. When that game ends, they do a little bit of a post-game show, and then it's the news. And you know what happens? As soon as the news comes on, I turn that channel off because not what I want to watch. If they played wrestling after a football game, that's like AEW. Some nights they'll go, right after AEW is Shawshank Redemption or The
Yep.
Gladiator or Walking Tall, and I'm like, okay, I don't change the channel. But if it's something
Yep, they did Four Brothers a couple of weeks ago. I was in my fucking glory.
My God, what a movie! So
I love that movie, and they're like Four Brothers cover. I was like, wait, what? I'm like, okay, yep, I'm watching this channel all night now.
So yeah, it's about that's why they call it programming. People don't understand. Programming is the idea of formatting your television channel for the people that you want to watch it. So
that's what USA's problem is. Who the hell gives a shit about Chrisley Knows Best or Modern Family right after Raw's over?
Nobody. Chrisley Knows Best is channel changingly bad.
Yep. Yeah, but it gets huge ratings.
I don't understand.
I don't know why.
Is the guy gay? I don't listen. I have to know. He's very okay. He's very effeminate.
He is.
But he has a wife and like 2 or 3 kids and adopted a daughter. And I'm not saying that effeminate men can't do all this. It's just that he doesn't.
I don't know what the attraction is either. I get it.
How is his wife attracted to him? How is he attracted to they don't seem
don't
like
know.
they're. It's never not like she ever looks at him and goes, oh, like I'm sure
excuse me.
like if you walk by Justin or Steve, if you walk by Stacy and you're like, oh, you smack him on the butt, you go, hey, hot stuff, or something, like you flirt with him. I've never seen these two flirt. They look like they sleep in separate beds, like it's I Love Lucy. Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't understand the show, but I can't watch it. I just
See, have you guys watched the Bradshaw Bunch, though, with Terry Bradshaw?
No, I should probably watch that.
That show is freaking hilarious.
I saw something. All right, now that you mentioned it, I saw a video of Terry Bradshaw sharing like scrambled eggs or mashed potatoes, something with his dog.
Mm-hmm.
But the dog and him are eating off of the
same plate. Mm-hmm.
Plate and fork.
Yep.
And it grosses me. I love my animals. I don't know if I can eat off the same plate as them.
Let me tell you, him and his granddaughter, to pull a prank on his wife, they took out the chocolate ice cream and replaced it with refried beans.
Oh, that's a good one. I gotta watch the show now. Okay, I'll watch that. Okay, was going back to Christmas Eve, or Christmas night rather, the 25th, SmackDown. We had the cage match that opened up. Roman Reigns beat Kevin Owens. And then we had the main event, which was Big E beating Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. What happened in the intervening hour and a half? Was there anything interesting that happened in between? Okay.
I haven't even seen it yet, to be quite honest, so I couldn't even tell you.
Well, keep me filled in here.
Kat, did you see it yet? Well, yeah, you were in the dome.
I was on it.
Yeah.
Yep, I was on the Thunderdome. Nothing really major happened in between there.
It was just Big E.
There was like,
just Big E. That was like the big deal.
And then there was like stuff with Charlotte and Asuka and everything, because now the Riot Squad wants a shot at the titles eventually and everything. But nothing. It wasn't even any big matches right there. I'm sorry, no, Daniel Bryan and Jey Uso, when Daniel Bryan did beat Jey Uso.
Okay, yeah. So they're setting up.
And that was actually a really good match too.
So here's the other thing. They are teasing a few things. Big E, they're teasing this run for Big E, main event run. Daniel Bryan is saying that he wants to win the Royal Rumble because he's never won the Royal Rumble. We know the controversy behind that for the last few years. And he's won the title that he hasn't won is the WWE Championship solo, because he won the dual titles. He won right. He's never won. No, he was Roman's Universal Champion or World Champion? Roman's Universal Champion. So Daniel Bryan's never had the Universal Championship. So he's saying he wants to win the Rumble because he's never won a Rumble. He wants to win the Universal Championship because he's never won it before. They're kind of. I think that's another route that they might go, because he's talking about retiring. So that's another.
Well, going part-time.
Yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so they're putting out. I think they're putting out feelers. They're going, how do people feel about Big E winning the Rumble? How do people feel about Daniel Bryan winning the Rumble this year? I mean, listen, if you're gonna have Daniel Bryan win the Rumble, it should have been like 8 years ago.
Yeah. But he was gone for quite a few though, so you know.
Yeah, he was retired for a couple years. So, we'll see. I think it's very much up in the air because you have those two guys from SmackDown as contenders.
Speaking of Daniel Bryan and everything, the episode of the Bellas having the babies is next week, just FYI.
Okay.
So
No word on them coming back, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I've been hearing that rumor for a while.
Oh,
So
that the Bellas are coming back. Okay, yeah, I thought.
Yeah, they
about
wanted
it.
they wanted shot at the tag titles, unfortunately.
Makes a lot of sense, but
and now that they both had the kids, they've had time.
And they were supposed to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. Why, I don't know.
And it didn't happen, so it leaves the
Thank
door open
God.
for them to do it.
well, supposedly 2020's inductees are going to get inducted this year because they're going to have it. They are going to have the rumor is they are going to have a ceremony this year, and they're going to induct last year's people. I don't know if they're going to add any new people, but their plan is to induct the people from last year.
That makes sense.
They're apparently even didn't Ric Flair say something that they're going to be making a building in Florida or something for all the Hall of Fame inductees or whatever?
A physical Hall of Fame in Florida.
Yeah.
Which would be great. I mean, it would probably be for their ease of installing it. It's probably going to be at full sale. I think the fun thing to do would be to have it at like Universal Studios.
Yeah.
It wouldn't, because Universal has this city walk.
Right.
I haven't been there in years. But you know, Universal City Walk, they have like the Chocolate Factory and this thing and the Hard Rock and all this other shit. I don't even know. I think the Hard Rock is gone. It's the Chocolate Factory now, but whatever. The city, they could have the WWE Hall of Fame. I mean, they've got like an I Love Lucy Hall of Fame there so like it could just be another thing, attraction when you go to the amusement park. That could be fun.
But didn't Universal Studios used to host WCW back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Impact. What, TNA?
In fact, when I was a kid and we went, it was in MGM Studios.
You went to the MGM show?
And well, I was with my parents. We were, doing the Disney thing, and I saw an ad, see a live wrestling show for free, WCW. So I looked at my parents and I was like, where can I meet you? Because I'm going to go check out the show. And so we did, because none of them were interested. And I waited online. It was the first time anyone had ever seen Glacier. He hadn't even been on TV yet. So I got to see it before everyone else, which was pretty cool. And
that's awesome.
And it's amazing how they did it, because they had the spinning stage at the time.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And they shot 2 episodes, and the Steiner brothers were on both episodes. So I got to see their entrance twice. Like, they did the whole thing. They were taping everything, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, man. I think that, that would be a fun, wherever they put it, it'll be a fun attraction. I'm fortunate enough to have been to Cooperstown, to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And
I've been there a few times.
Yeah, I've been there.
So have I.
I haven't been there recently, but I loved the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. Cooperstown is a really nice town. And then Springfield, where the Basketball Hall of Fame is, that's only like 45 minutes away from me. I used to go there a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, I've been there. That's awesome.
They built I don't know. I've actually never been to the renovated one. I went to the old school Basketball Hall of Fame.
The renovated one is amazing.
I got to check it out. I always drive by it because it looks like a big basketball and a hoop, but it's like silver. So it's very cool. Hopefully, yeah, that WWE Hall of Fame destination becomes a reality, because I'd love to imagine all that stuff that they just have in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And that's what they could do too. I don't know why they're looking at Florida. They could just use the warehouse in Stanford and just turn it into a museum. All the shit's already there. And
not only that, but then you can go down to Clearwater, and Hogan has a new restaurant that's opening up.
Oh, wow. So
that looks pretty cool.
Restaurant. Good.
Yeah.
I think the location I'm in, I was in that one time that I live streamed in from Orlando. I think they went to a bigger location, but Hogan's Beach Shop. That's, if you're down in Florida, I'd recommend, if you're a wrestling fan, going and checking it out, because there's a lot of Hogan memorabilia in there.
How weird is it going to be to see him on Monday night with not a single pop?
Oh, how weird is? Okay, so tomorrow, Monday night is Legends Night. Carlito is among the legends.
How did he become a legend? I don't understand that.
And when did Eve Torres become a legend? And Tori Wilson?
Well, Tori Wilson's technically a WWE Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't make you a legend.
I know.
Coco Beware is in the Hall of Fame, okay?
He's the Birdman. The Birdman.
Frankie belongs in the Hall of Fame more than Coco does. Okay.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know. It's a funny.
We need an animal division of the Hall of Fame. Let's put Matilda in there. Winston, Damien,
Tori Wilson's dog, Fifi. Was it Fifi?
Fifi.
All right, but
that dog deserves it more than she does.
it's a weird group of legends, but it's still like your tradition. Like you're gonna have Flair and Hogan, I'm sure.
That's just gonna be weird with no pop whatsoever.
Yeah, Real American's gonna play and he's gonna walk out.
Yeah.
Fake.
See, Carlito might not get one anyway, so that's not a big deal. But
No. See, I know he's not a legend per se, but I want Carlito. He's got to have the I spit in the face.
Yeah, he's got to have the apple.
Of course
he has to have the apple.
Like the music has to play.
Yeah, no, but I just mean at the fact from a legends aspect, he's not a legend.
Although, however, you know what? I forgot to grab this before the show. I'll be right back. It'll take 2 seconds.
That's so funny. Yeah, I don't know when Carlito ever became a legend.
Never. I mean, he had a good career, don't get me wrong, but
where Carlito is working, go to the craft store and get a wax or a fake apple and get Carlito to sign it.
No.
Yeah. That's the thing to do.
In the face of people who don't want to be cool.
So yeah, I've had this for.
You know what cool is?
I don't even know how long.
You're looking at.
I definitely haven't signed an apple for you. I love the song.
Makes you want to go on a cruise.
The song was great.
Oh yeah.
But definitely not a fucking legend.
Listen, the song's great. The gimmick was great. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, if he was a number in the Royal Rumble or something and just popped out of nowhere, that would be fantastic. I'd be in my glory. To count him as a legend, nah.
I know. It's very weird. Especially because he was one of those guys who left, and you're like, he'll be back. He was never back, and it was just it. I feel like Carlito could have really. There was a spot for Carlito, obviously, during that time. So,
I think with Carlito, it came down to money in the end.
And he just. You remember the time where, and I was just reading something about this earlier today, when Ric Flair had that promo where he yelled at Carlito and Tori Wilson because they were going to leave early.
Yeah,
that was right after Vince McMahon yelled at Ric Flair and gave him this like speech about how he's washed up and needs to retire and all this shit. And
really,
apparently Vince really laid into Rick. And this was right around when they were starting that retirement storyline. And so Vince laid into him, and then he's like, okay, now go cut a promo on Carlito. And Rick just went out, madder than a wet hen, and cut that great promo. But it was he got worked up by Vince McMahon, and Vince, unleashed him on Carlito.
Well, that's part of the brilliance of Vince McMahon.
Yeah, he knows how to work people up, man, for sure.
Okay, I got the Legends list that's scheduled to appear if you guys want it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's hear it.
All right, we got Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Kurt Angle, Big Show, The Boogeyman,
nice,
Carlito, Alicia Fox.
She's a legend.
The Boogeyman and Alicia Fox are legends.
God help me.
You know what? I would take the Boogeyman as a legend over Alicia Fox.
Boogeyman. I'm not disputing that. Alicia Fox. Okay, Michael Hayes, Mark Henry, Hillbilly Jim, IRS, Ivory, Jacqueline, Jeff Jarrett, Melina, Sergeant Slaughter, Tatanka, Tori Wilson, and Mickey James.
Tatanka Buffalo. Wow, that is a weird list of legends.
That is a scary list.
What in the fuck are we gonna do in all of Raw with all these legends?
Gonna have fun on Tuesday night, that's for damn sure.
They're all gonna be backstage talking. They're gonna do a quick little shot of them, and that's gonna be it, except for Hogan and Flair.
Play poker. Somebody's gonna dance. Somebody's gonna win the 24/7 title. We already know what's gonna happen.
And there's gonna be a surprise element of some part because Steve Austin's not on that list, and he's gonna show up.
No, that's not necessarily true.
It'd be great.
Someone's getting stunned on a legend show.
I I don't know.
I'm hoping. Yeah, I know Hulk
I
Hogan.
feel like if they're promoting Hogan, they would promote Austin.
Well, they're teasing that Bray Wyatt's going to get involved with Hogan.
Oh.
That was what Alexa specifically mentioned.
That's true. He wants to meet his idol, Hulk Hogan.
And
yeah.
he's mentioned.
That's right.
Bray Wyatt's mentioned it before that he's a big Hogan fan. And it came up in the John Cena thing. Hogan came up in their WrestleMania match, the cinematic match.
Yeah, but Bray Wyatt can do it, not The Fiend. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder if The Fiend is, if they're
Mr. Rogers, I took I ate my prayers and said my vitamins.
And he does the Muscle Man. What if he does the Muscle Man dance with Hulk Hogan?
And he comes out with the Richard Simmons tights, like little shorts and.
Oh man! So yes, I feel like there's.
Listen, they're always entertaining, and you get a little nostalgia because you get to see everybody. So I always enjoy those shows, even as cheesy as they get. But
I do too. But there's just some names that don't like.
Right.
No, no, I agree. I agree.
I mean, if you're gonna have Ivory and Jacqueline and Mickey James, you don't need to put Alicia Fox and Melina and Tori Wilson and Eve Torres in that same category.
But they have soon. Do you think Carlito's going into the Hall of Fame? Is that why they did this?
I hope not.
Can you imagine?
The Apple should be inducted before he does.
I agree, because Carlito only worked there for like 2 years. Stupid.
I was gonna say his career. I think Luke Harper had a longer career.
Oh yeah, by a long stretch.
Amazing.
And of course, we're looping all the way back around. It is almost that time, Steve, right?
Yeah, we are at top of the hour, folks.
Oh, I didn't even mean to do that. My bad.
Right? No, you tied it all back in nicely because
I did a segue. No,
it was nice because it was nice to talk about wrestling normally and talk about the show and the matches and all that, and not because all I've thought about in every other news article is about Brodie Lee passing away. So it's nice to have the break from that and talk about other wrestling stuff, but also to, tie it back in and
I was gonna say that actually earlier because we didn't actually go. I think that's kind of why the WWE also may have not made it such a huge thing last night, because I'm sure they knew AEW was gonna do something on Wednesday night and make it more about the wrestling.
Yeah, and
WCW gave Owen his moment and everything, and did small tributes to Owen, but they didn't make all of WCW all about Owen when Owen died.
But they did. So they did have that one match though. That was Brett and Benoit.
Brett and Chris Benoit. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully, I know that.
But that was on the 1 year anniversary. That wasn't on
that was the 1 year. That wasn't the night.
That was the 1 year later when they did that. That was not the same show.
So yeah. So I wonder if I feel like there's got to be more to come from WWE in terms of.
I agree, but I think maybe that's kind of why I think they kind of took the WCW approach as to Owen as what. Okay, one network's already going to be. This was your current star,
And I'm, as much as I'm dreading the show tomorrow, I'm looking forward to it because I want to see all these guys are going to be working together to remember their friend. It's going to be an emotional night for those guys for sure. And, the two kids are going to be there. The one kid, Brodie. I assume that Brodie Jr. is going to come out with the Dark Order at one point, which will be nice to see. But also, I went back and watched. If you haven't watched Dark last week, they point out -1 in the crowd giving the Dark Order salute. He's wearing a Dark Order mask. He's a little kid, obviously 8 years old, but he's also wearing Brodie Lee's chain from the dog collar match. So I hope that's yeah. So I hope the kid, and he gives the Dark Order salute to the camera. So I'm hoping maybe this week when he comes out, he's still wearing the chain, and that could be a thing. When he's in 10 years when he's wrestling, maybe he wears that chain out to the ring to remember his dad. So that as much as I hate
sad night tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's gonna be exactly like Raw is Owen. It's exactly like Raw is Owen. So, this
rewatch now 20-something years later, it still makes me cry.
It's still not. Yeah, it's still unbelievable. And they ended it the best way they could with Stone. And I know him and Stone Cold didn't always get along because of the whole pile driver thing, but with Stone Cold leaving the beer in the ring for him. And I feel like that, maybe that'll be something that they'll do at the end of the show is they'll have everybody kind of come out and do a toast to him or do some kind of something with the whole roster. Yeah. So once again, this, it's not just for John Hubbard, Brodie Lee, Luke Harper. It's for his wife, Amanda. It's for his sons, Nolan and Brodie Jr. And
she was an indie wrestler too, wasn't she?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if she was or not.
I thought I remember hearing something that his wife was actually, they met at wrestling, that she was a wrestler.
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of people meet their significant other in the business, so that doesn't surprise me. It's just, it sucks because this is not to go back on it again, but this was a guy that once he was in AEW, he made such an impact there. You knew he was going to be important. You knew that he was going to, he had matches still to come with Adam Page and a whole bunch of guys that he hadn't gotten to wrestle yet. And maybe he wins the title from Kenny Omega. Who knows? But there was so much potential there. So it's tough, man. Yeah, I guess we should just, that's the only way we can really.
Yeah, because I'm going to start crying again.
Yeah, it would be unfair to close out this show just talking about our regular bull crap. So, of course, you can subscribe to our YouTube. You can follow us on social media at Tag Me a Date, no spaces, twitch.tv/War Report, or you go to the audio version of the podcast instead of the video. You go to Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts. But I don't want that to be the last thing that was said on this podcast, especially today. This is the end. It's our last podcast of 2020. I hope that everyone has a much better year in 2021 than we have in 2020.
Amen.
Cherish those that are still with us. Remember the ones that we lost. And this one's for you, John. This one's for you, Brodie Lee. It sucks. So, for John, Amanda, Brodie Jr., and Nolan, this show is for you guys, and we're going to remember him as one of the best big men, really. And it's not just a thing. It's not just, I'm not just making shit up. He was one of the best big men wrestlers. Definitely a big loss. Rest in peace, John Hubbard. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday. Fresh start, new year. We're starting fresh. Tuesday, 7 p.m. live. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.